What's up guys, today we're back with another one of my month reviews. This is the series where I go through everything that happened in the last month of MCOC to give it an overall rating. And in this video, we're looking at everything that happened in the month of July. So first of all, I guess the main thing that happens every month is the event quest. And this month it was the Last Laughs event quest. Realistically, there was no changes to the event quest. It is basically the same that it has been for quite a while now, but rewards were fairly consistent. The only change in this month really was that one of the Stellar Forged Green Goblin pieces is at the end of the Elder rewards. But other than that, kind of consistent throughout the months. So we've really had two main side events in July, and this is pretty much your squad builder event at the moment. So the squad builder is basically you enter in, you see what cards you get, and you try and build a deck of cards that gives you the most amount of points, because the more of the same card you get, or certain sequences, or certain numbers of numbered cards, things like that, you kind of get more and more points, and that ultimately relates to where you place in your percentage for the squad builder, and then that depends on where you place in your final formation event. And then if your entire alliance farms that, you'll be able to get your rank rewards, which includes a 7-star Ascended Scream. So for the top 7 alliances in the world, they actually get an Ascension 2 Scream. The top 1% is an Ascension level 1 Scream. However, the reward drop off in this event is pretty ridiculous. So if you're not an alliance that's chasing that top 1% or those top few positions, it really drops off very, very quickly. And considering the amount of time it takes playing the squad builder event to even get into the top 2 to 5%, realistically isn't worth it for most alliances. I don't mind the squad builder events though, because at least it is something different. It's something a little bit fresh. You get to play a different aspect of the game. And I guess at the moment with this secret stash event running as well, it's encouraging you to play it each day, because each day you're going to get an objective where you need to complete 3 of the boss fights to be able to get 1,000 of the pry bars. And the pry bars, alongside the pry bars that you get from your super daily event at the moment, contribute to these secret stash boxes, where you basically go through and you claim a bunch of rewards. Total in this event, you can actually get a lot of stuff. You can get like 58 empowered grace crystals, you get a bunch of catalyst fragments, you get a bunch of relic items, there's a 1 to 2 rank up gem, there's a lot of the mysterious orbs for getting Mysterio eventually, a lot of decent stuff in here. So overall, I think even if you're just doing it for the objectives to get the pry bars for the secret stash, probably worth it for that. Now I guess alongside all the Symbiotic Bonds event, we did have the Creepies Crawlies event, which is basically you pick the team that you want to be on, either with Spider-Man or Venom. You compete in various objectives and events, and then whoever has the most amount of points, whether the Spider-Man team or the Venom team, basically determines the rewards that you get. You get a 7-star Venom and you get a 6-star Venom Relic, which is overall, for people that don't have it, a ridiculously good reward. For people that have it, hey, it's whatever. Anywho, the Creepies team won, which means that we got 7-star Venom and we got the 6-star Venom Relic alongside that. Another new side event thing, I guess, is the new Apex Coliseum, which has dropped. And so far we have the first 2 fights of this, which has been Mojo and Korg. Now the Mojo boss is relatively straightforward. It's fairly easy to get a decent amount of bars with him. The Korg boss has definitely been a lot more of a pain though, just because Korg overall at a baseline is a much more annoying defender to manage. However, because of the new point system, there isn't really much point in getting a ridiculous amount of bars per fight. Because what they've done is they've kept the 80 points per fight, which you need to get to be able to get all the milestone rewards, but they have actually doubled the points. So it means that for 80 points cleared, you only need to clear 40 health bars. And it's become more straightforward, and the rewards have gotten better as well. So we're now seeing a lot more of the higher rank catalysts down lower. So you can see there's already like some tier 7 basics here. You've got another one of the Stellar Forged Green Goblin pieces, and then you're ramping up obviously into your normal T5 Alpha and a rank 4 gem. And I guess the 2 times points is okay for people that don't like doing Apex Coliseum. I'm someone that likes Apex Coliseum, so I would be doing it regardless and probably doing more than the 80 points anyway. But I guess for people to be motivated to do it in general, maybe that aren't bothering to do it at all, I guess the 2 time is something kind of nice. Now the next thing I want to go over is a bit of a contentious topic, and it is something that I've already made a video about in its entirety as well, but that is the new piece of story content, the Epilogue. Now this is the next piece of content in Story Quest, and it has been tentatively called Act 10, which if you have seen my other video, you will know I wholeheartedly disagree with. This is not story content. You know what? I'm not going to rant about it now because I have already spoken about this piece of content enough. But long story short, this is an absolute stain on the story content. It's got terrible rewards, which smell even worse because it is an Elder locked piece of content, and these rewards aren't relevant to Elder players. It's got no new boss fights. It's just rehashing the same bosses we've previously seen. It only takes you like an hour to complete, and overall it is just lazy and boring. And it is also extra frustrating because this means that we're not getting new Act content for quite a while. We were due to get new Act 10, like proper Act 10 in September. Now obviously this has pushed that back, so I don't see we're getting any new bosses until next year now, which is extremely frustrating. You know what, I said I'm not going to rant. Go check out that video if you want to hear more about it. Battlegrounds this season was fairly inoffensive. I don't think there was anything that was too specific for fights. The other nice change that happened recently really is in the victory track, you now start out in Vibranium 5, which is nice, I guess. It's less time consuming for people that maybe don't enjoy Battlegrounds that much, but still want to get the rewards from it. I do feel though that this is kind of a reflection that it is just a dying game mode, because if the thing that is an improvement to your game mode is that you now have to play it less, I feel like that's probably a bad sign. Call me crazy, but if you're saying, oh, this is great now because we actually don't have to play it nearly as much, I feel like that is a sign that there is something severely wrong with the game mode. I think there's a lot of things that need to be changed about Battlegrounds, but also I think that some game modes just do die out. Like realistically, you're not going to be able to keep people's interest in certain game modes forever. It has made it through 40 seasons. I just think that Kabam hasn't given it enough love considering how passionate the Battlegrounds community is. I think the amount of people that are playing Battlegrounds is probably the smallest it's ever been, but the people that are playing it right now are the people that love Battlegrounds the most out of the entire community. Take some advice from them, learn what they want from the game mode, what is stopping people from playing the game mode right now, and implement some changes, because otherwise, I don't see anyone doing this. Hopefully they do some sort of change, but overall this month, there wasn't anything too crazy to make it at least more painful, which is a win, I guess, maybe. Now, we have also had some changes in alliance-based stuff. So for Alliance War, first of all, we have had a pretty solid improvement in just your war-to-war kind of rewards. It was just like a really, really low amount of catalyst fragments and crystal shards. There was like even 6-star shards still, which is crazy to be getting 6-star shards in the big 2026. So depending on your alliance, depending on where you're at for your multiplier right now, you do get up to 8,000 radiance per war, which is really nice, all the way down to still like 5-star shards in the lower down alliances, but at least that's had an overall improvement. And then as well for your participation rewards, you're getting 1,400 Essentia. So at least for doing a war, even if you're losing, you're at least getting a currency which is still relevant in the game right now compared to really, really piddly bits of catalyst fragments and stuff that it used to be. Now, we also did have the next Alliance Coliseum come into the game. The rewards did have a bit of a bump, so it was something at least a bit more relevant for Elder players because they had those Elder specific selectors. However, the main thing that people really enjoyed is that they extended the time frame of it. So it wasn't a 3-day event anymore. You didn't have to rush to get it all done within 3 days and get all your points up. And so overall, I think for the average player, it was a really big improvement. And then for the older players as well, we got a rewards bump up. So we love to see that. At least that was an improvement so that we can make it a bit more relevant for us as well. And now right towards the end of the month, we actually had the next version of the Alliance raids. So the main bosses in raids now is basically your Scorpion, your Spider-Ham, your Scream, and then a big old J. Jonah Jameson boss at the end. J. Jonah Jameson was a fairly straightforward boss. If you got to kind of miscount it for him, I took in Stealth Suit Spider-Man and he, with his pre-fight ability, kind of shut down that fight pretty easily. Overall, I think the fights were fairly straightforward. The raids chest were a really good improvement now that you're getting, I guess, just more rewards and you get a chance for that 7-star Scarlet Witch Classic now. I picked up like 3 tier 6 CC, I got a Titan Crystal and I got 1,500 units, which was actually really solid. So overall, I think the rewards have gotten a pretty good bump up, and that's alongside your normal completion and exploration rewards, where you're now getting tier 7 basic, you're getting some tier 4 alpha, and they've also included your empowered crystals in here as well. So I guess it's nice to see empowered crystals kind of being scattered throughout the game more and more, just because Ascension is now really, really relevant in towers, and especially with things like the Tower of Ascension coming out, where it's now a requirement to have all Ascended champions. It is nice to see at least some more access to getting some more Ascended champions in general. So overall, a pretty decent improvement to this. I think it makes it a bit more relevant for the older players, and at least it makes the time needed to do raids pretty decent compared to other Alliance events as well. Now, other game mode that dropped in game is related to towers, and this was the Tower of Ascension. So the new challenge tower at the moment, the Tower of Ascension, is basically your 18 fights made up of 6 different champions that you're going up against. Jabari Panther, Storm Pyramid X, Infamous Iron Man, Cersei, Scarlet Witch, and Mr. Fantastic, and then those 6 fights again, and then those 6 fights again. And each chunk of 6 fights basically has specific nodes, and the rewards are overall fairly decent. Nothing really for like rank 5 materials, but at least you do get a greater empowered crystal. You get a bunch of rank up gems to at least make it better for pushing forward in the regular towers. And then you also get 5 empowered grace crystals per fight you go through as well. It got a bit of criticism because it is purely Ascension focused. Like you can't do damage unless your champions are ascended, because you can only do damage in your ISO burst phase, which is an Ascension specific ability. So I think it got a bit of criticism for that, for people that don't have many Ascended champions, or who maybe haven't wanted to splash out or spend in events where you really are getting a lot of Ascension materials. I do know that a lot of other people had a bit of trouble though, and especially when the champions do get a bit annoying, like Cersei and Mr. Fantastic, that you need those specific counters for. The only criticism that I would really have as a challenge tower is that it was just a bit boring, like doing the same 6 fights over and over again isn't particularly exciting content. I do prefer, I would say, the past tower we had, the Saga Showcase Tower. This had some specific fights against specific nodes. If they made something like this with multiple blocks and at least some unique fights, I think it would be a lot more interesting in the Ascension Tower. But the rewards are at least better. You get a decent bit of stuff, you get some rank up gems, and overall, you also bump up your tower rankings a fair bit too, because each fight you do out of the 18 fights gives you 8 points in your tower ranking points. So for people that maybe have a lot of Ascended champions but haven't pushed super far in the regular towers, this could be at least a way for you to get some points and move up a couple of ranks. I've currently just dropped out of the top 300, I'm now realizing, which I'm gonna have to fix up before the end of the season, but I'm still on my mission to get into the top 200. I haven't given up. Yusafa, I saw you in the comments of my top 200 video. I'm coming for you. Watch your back. Anywho, threats aside, the Ascension Tower was fairly okay. I think it got an okay reception. The only criticism really is just being too Ascension focused, but it's the Tower of Ascension. What do you want? People that are doing towers, I think, already have a fair few Ascended champions. People that are pushing really high up in towers have all the Ascended champions. So it's kind of that community it is focusing on. Overall, pretty solid. Now, the other tower focused thing was actually a bit of a side event, which was a little different, and it's actually now disappeared, but it was the Comic-Con Tower for the San Diego Comic-Con. This is basically like a little week-long event where you went through 5 different blocks, and at the end of the tower, you basically got 2 7-star crystals and a Titan crystal. The fights were fairly straightforward. They were fairly easy. I don't think it was too challenging, and it probably is at least a way for people who haven't really pushed in towers to get a bit more experience in it, maybe players that haven't even gone into towers properly yet. At least that's something that's kind of on the front page. It's San Diego Comic-Con related. It's been promoted by Kabam a lot, and it started off with some really low rank fights so that maybe people can become a bit more accustomed to towers and get a bit more used to it. So overall, I think it was some decent publicity for the regular game mode, but the rewards weren't anything too crazy. It was just like a little bonus fun side event. So you could kind of experience the things that maybe people were doing at Comic-Con as well. Now, there's a couple of other things that I want to cover before we get into the champion stuff that happened in this month. Now, first of all, we had the Arnim Zola box. You basically had a slim chance at getting an Arnim Zola, and if you bought all of the box keys, you could get an Ascension level 2 Arnim Zola. This was a bit dire. This event is something that really I don't think should have existed, because Ascension is supposed to be bumping up the champions that are not that great so that they become a little bit more relevant. They get a bit of a bump in their stats. Arnim Zola is like one of the most relevant champions in the game right now for defense, with not that many counters for him. To then be able to have people get an Ascension level 2 of him, I think is a pretty horrific choice by Kabam. I'm sure lots of people picked it up. I mean, the whale accounts definitely picked it up because, hey, I don't blame you. An Ascension 2 Zola, if you got the spare change to put towards it, it's definitely something that will put some value on your account. But the principle is gross. I think it's a bad idea to be able to just bring out champions that are already really, really good and just sell them. Don't love that, but at least it was something for the whale accounts. Outside of that, the offers this month haven't been super offensive. We've got kind of 2 of the tracks running at the moment. We've got the double track, which is where you pick up your 7-star Ascended version of Hobgoblin, and then you've also got your Tangled Threads Pass, which is where you pick up a first appearance version of Silk. You do have the track running in the Summoner Market at the moment with the Spider-Verse offers, where it's basically just like some lower rank catalysts and rank up gems and awakening gems and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy, nothing rank 5 relevant. The only thing that is kind of interesting in it is that you do have the option to pick up a 7-star Stark Enhanced Spider-Man. Now, of course, you could also just do the CCP Karina challenge for him. And if you're a person that is choosing to spend hundreds of dollars over just doing kind of outdated content that you would be able to do fairly easily, that's an interesting choice. That's definitely a choice you could make, but hey, it'd be interesting. I'm not going to yuck your yum, but there definitely wasn't anything too crazy to entice a lot of people into this spending event. The other thing really is the daily offers have had a bit of a bump up. Now, daily offers previously were kind of things that you could pick up and have a decent chunk of rewards even if you just bought one. Because previously when you bought one, you would also get these tokens that you could then use into these selectors where you could basically pick up, depending on your progression level, certain amount of rewards. Then that's like Catalyst Fragments or Sig Stones. Maybe you bought one daily offer a month. Maybe you're a really low spending player. You bought one a month. After 7 months, you could pick up an extra little bonus pack. Now though, Kabam has changed it. So they're removing those packages and they're only really doing the daily specials tied into these objectives. So basically the more daily specials you buy, the higher up the rewards get. So the selectors do give you some more relevant stuff, like you do get some Catalyst Fragments and Empowered Crystals and things that are good for elder players. However, it is very catered towards people that are buying every daily special every week, because you really only maximize your rewards if you're buying them every day. For the people that don't pick up all the offers though, maybe they pick up 1 or 2 daily specials here and there. For Joe Blow who don't want to spend no mo, it's not quite as beneficial, but for the elders, I guess, for the high spenders, it is at least a decent improvement. Now, champions. The new champions that came out this month. We had 2 new champions, and that was Black Tarantula and Hobgoblin. Let's talk about Hobgoblin first. Now, Hobgoblin, as you're aware, is the champion under the double track event at the moment. And this guy had the opportunity to be a bit of a fan favorite. He sort of was looked at as like this Jack-o'-lantern 2.0, like this next version of a really high damage over time tech champion. And then he comes out, he's in the plat track, and he kind of sucks. His damage is too low, his rotation is too specific, his heavy charging opens up too many ways for you to mess up in the fight, and the payoff after doing this specific rotation just isn't high enough to justify the work. Now for some matchups he's decent, but for those fights, you could have just picked up Jack. Jack-o'-lantern could have just done it faster, he could have done it better, and he could have done it safer. So overall, I think Hobgoblin didn't fill a gap. He kind of just is a new, worse Jack-o'-lantern, and I hold Jack-o'-lantern at very high regard. I mean, look at the profile picture. Jack-o'-lantern is probably my favorite champion in the game. I will say the other champion that came out in July, he's nudging Jack. He is nudging, because this next guy that came out, Black Tarantula, is a demon. He is a weapon. He's got insane damage. He's got great abilities. He's got really good utility. He's got evade on specials. He counteracts inequity, so it's great for fights where he's got a lot of debuffs going on to him. And the damage is so cracked. This guy, honestly, I'm working on a bit of a showcase video for this guy, but I'm struggling to find fights that have a big enough health pool to properly show off this guy's damage, which is a very good problem to have. But this guy cleans up fights like Red Hulk in Labyrinth of Legends gets cleaned up in like a minute. The Thing in Abyss of Legends cleans up in like a couple of minutes. Like, the champions are dead by the time he gets to full ramp. So I'm still working on a bit of a video for him, because the options for outside of like CCP maps, because I don't have access to the CCP yet, there's just not a whole lot in the game where I can properly showcase his abilities and his power, because everything just dies before I get to full ramp. If you see my profile picture change one day from Jack-o'-lantern to Black Tarantula, don't be surprised, because this guy, oh, he is so good. Anywho, enough Black Tarantula glocking. Time to move on to the overall review. So taking into account all of this, taking into account the event quest and the Battlegrounds season and the alliance changes and the towers changes and the Tower of Ascension and the champions that came out and the other bonus stuff and piddly bits that happen here and there and the epilogue, I'm gonna settle on a B+. A B+, I think, is a solid grade. I think if things went a bit better around Tower of Ascension and the side event being a bit better and catered towards the general audience of events, not just those top few alliances, I think it definitely could have gotten further. I think the rewards this month were decent. I think we had access to some pretty decent stuff for very low effort, but also the low effort needed kind of puts a bit of a dampen on it as well. I don't like when there's story content that only takes an hour to release. I don't like that Battlegrounds, the best thing that changes about Battlegrounds is that we have to play it less. I don't love that the thing that changes about Apex Coliseum as well is that we have to play it less. We should be rewarding people to play more in the game, and for that reason, I don't put praise on those changes for the wider game. I think it's a bad long-term decision. I think it's an okay short-term decision, but it's going to come back to bite ya. The champions were overall good this month, I think. Hobgoblin was okay, but Black Tarantula was cracked, so it evens out to be a very solid month for champions. There were a couple of bad tastes in the mouth. Obviously, for some people, the Tower of Ascension was a bad time. The Arnhem Zola box was a bad time. That was just gross. But overall, I think that a B+ is a pretty fair grade for the month entirely. Now, put down below what you think. Put in the comments if you think it should get a different grade, if taking into account past month reviews, you think that this was a better month or a worse month, or whatever you think about it, put in the comments below. I'd love to see what you think about it there, because this isn't a final grade. This is just a tentative grade while we get through the year. And at the end of the year, I'm going to go through all these videos. I'm going to put together all the information to make an overall annual tier list and grade the months to see what we like the best in each month. I'd love to be able to do that with your feedback in mind as well. So chuck down below what you think about it. But anywho, that's going to do it. That is the month review all done. We'll be back again for another episode next month for wrapping up August. But until then, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. That stuff really helps me out. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.